Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's exciting PACE video on the 100-day blind spot. I'm excited to be joined today by our speaker, Paulo Ribeiro, who will be talking about this incredibly important topic. For those of you that are not familiar with PACE, we're an independent, method-neutral association advancing the discipline of profitability analytics through education, certification, and research. If you'd like to become a member, it's free. You'll gain access to PACE's extensive resources. Just go to profitability-analytics.org and sign up. We have a little bit of housekeeping before we get started today. If you'd like to receive a certificate of attendance for today and CPE credit, please be sure to use your actual first and last name when you sign in. If you want to edit the name on your screen, click Participants at the bottom of your screen and then hover over your name on the list. Click the three dots and there's an option for you to rename. Please note that you have to attend at least 50 minutes of today's session and answer at least 3 of the polling questions in order to receive CPE credit. I also wanted to note that there are times today where you'll be asked to react to a question. The React tab is at the bottom of your screen, and please feel free to use that. The session is being recorded, so please be sure to keep your cameras off and your microphones muted until the Q&A session. Please hold your questions until the end, or you can type them in the chat feature, and we'll have time to answer those questions at the end. And having said that, over to you, Paulo.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Rafe. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to participate in these webinars promoted by Profitability Analytics Center of Excellence. My name is Paulo. My background is in economics. I am CFO for the last 25 years, mainly in manufacturing companies. I'm based in Portugal, in Aveiro. It's very hot here today. And I also participate in Oporto University, where I am developing my doctoral degree. My field of study are strategy, execution, management control, and the impacts that business analytics are having in today's financial tools that we use every day. So today we will be talking about driver-based planning. This webinar comes from an article that we developed, a case study that was published in PACE several months ago. If you want, you can go to PACE website and experiment the blog that has several interesting articles. This one is also in there, or in LinkedIn if you prefer. And the case study evolves around the current times that we live, the volatility, the uncertainty that we live today, and where we as CFOs, as controllers, as finance leaders of our organizations are questioned to have information available to understand the impacts of the things that are going on and try to give those answers immediately or in a very short period of time. But before I start the lecture, I would like to ask the participants of this webinar to try to give me also some feedback. So we can use Zoom reactions for that. And if you can participate with us, I'd like you to raise your hand if you work in the finance or in the controller's area, a green check if you are in operations or in sales or marketing, or an art if something else is your work. Okay, I see we have several persons from different areas. Some hands raised, some green checks from the financial area. That's good. So here we have persons that will benefit from this topic we'll be discussing today. Another reaction that I would like to get from you, it's your level of experience with driver-based planning. So if you have used it or you are using it in your organization, give me a thumbs up, or if you are not using it, give me a thumbs down. So we have a more clear picture of the audience that we have here today with us. So mainly some thumbs down. So I think we are all interested in hearing how does this tool, this instrument can help us in our current times, in our on a daily basis, in our decision making. So let's start. The four objectives we have for this session are built around the case, as I mentioned before. And they are very, very clear. So by the end of this session, you should be able to recognize different drivers that impact profitability and the performance of our companies. We will see what the driver is, what the tests are important for it to pass to be considered as a driver. Also, we will try to understand why a cross-functional value driver tree. So why is it important to have this tool implemented in a cross-functional way with different functions, with different departments, and the benefits it can give to the organization. So if everyone shares the same data, the same information, and if we are able to use it together, the benefits will be bigger. Third objective is the importance of real-time scenario analysis. So after we'll build our model, if we are able to use it to test different assumptions or to test different decisions, we will have a tool that will help us in decision making. And then finally, a fourth objective, it's related to us, the people, the leaders of the financial areas, where we might have to move for a data janitor or someone that just gives information of what happened in the past and also contribute to our organizations to steer better in the future, to make better decisions, and to make decisions faster. So why is it important to talk about driver-based planning? Why not continue to use the traditional budget that most companies still use today? So this is not a critic to budget. This is not something like the beyond budgeting compared to the traditional budget. That's not what I'm reaching here. But for the experience that you have from the research we continue to do at the university, we continue to see companies still using this tool, this traditional budget as the main tool. But in current times where volatility, where uncertainty, where complexity or ambiguity, so in this VUCA world that we live today, where an announcement from a president of a country, or where a war that starts overnight, or where an earthquake destroys some infrastructure can impact our businesses. We continue to have long supply chains across the world, and an impact on one side can have impacts in our business, and the budget is not the best tool to achieve that. So the budget also, besides being static, since it's made once a year, or even if it has a rolling forecast, people usually try to negotiate the numbers. Uh, there is a problem with budgeting if it is connected to incentives, where we try to increase the cost that we present in budget, so we have some slack and are able to achieve the budget according to plan. Or we have some sandbanding where we try to define revenue that is lower than the potential. So the commercial team is also able to achieve better results. So when we are creating a budget, we are not preoccupied with the best estimate for each item. We are negotiating numbers, we are game playing with each other, and us in the financial area are the ones that need to intervene and try to achieve the best compromise possible. But sometimes we forgot that what is important when we are planning for the future, it's at the best estimate. Also, the budget has the problem of controlling the variance, of checking the actuals to the budget values. Usually this is done once per month, on the third, on the fifth, on the 10th day of the following month. And we are analyzing this information. It can be too late because some things are happening every day and all of them may impact our bottom line. So we need a tool that is more reactive, is more accurate, and responds to the needs. So this is where the proposal of the driver-based planning comes up. So we will show you in the next slides how we can build a driver model and how we can use it to simulate in real time. So we will not be planning the outcomes. We will not say that the revenue of this year is plus 5% of the revenue of last year. This is planning for an outcome. We will be working on the drivers that influence that outcome, the levers that we can move, pull up and pull down in order to impact our outcomes. So this is an alternative to the budget that is more adjusted to today's environment. So the case we have developed show us that when we get information that is out of date, besides we look at what happened in the past, if I'm telling you that if I'm telling you today that in the last quarter we lose 2 points in our gross margin, it's already too late. What our managers and decision makers want nowadays is to know, given the impacts that are happening today, what will be the impact on our bottom line immediately. So not wait for the next month or for the end of the quarter to retrieve that information. In the case that we have developed, of course, some things might be exaggerated. I don't think we have too many companies today that have to wait 100 days to have a faultless report about what happened in the last quarter. But it's a picture that gives us the possibility to think about this. So if we keep looking at the mirror of what happened last 3 months, we we will not know, we will not be managing our company correctly, and will not be able to make the right decisions to resolve those or to minimize those impacts. So we can have accurate numbers, but they can be useless at the same time if the information concerns what happened in the past. We will be talking here of an alternative. So as I told you before, this presentation is based on that case of a company called GlobalTech, a manufacturing company. It has several characters. Janice Novak is the controller. It's the person of the financial area. It's somehow the hero, as I call it, of this process. And is the one that sees the transformation from scorekeeper, from data janitor, from looking at the past, and create a tool that allows to anticipate the impacts on the future and choose different alternatives. So if in the end you'd like to see the case, I think it's important and it's useful for you to use as a complement to this webinar. So we are already talked about the budget and why it fails. So we already discussed the delay is a problem. The negotiation that goes around between different departments and different functions, and what the controller is up against too. So a lot of time invested in preparing a plan and negotiating the numbers. I usually say this is not planning, this is game playing. And also another question, when we build the budget, the traditional budget, we are only talking about financial terms, revenues, gross margin, costs, general expenses, etc. And they are not the terms that our operational colleagues from sales or from the manufacturing use. That they are used to hear about conversion rates or leads or business opportunities or capacity or equipment efficiency. And what this tool of driver-based planning allows is to talk to them in their language, use the levers that they have at their disposal to influence the financial outcomes, and build a model where everything interrelates with each other and allow us to answer with better results. Um, when the target of a budget, when the process implies some incentives, of course, people will go according to those incentives. So disconnecting this planning process from the incentives is something that needs also to be considered. Otherwise, instead of fighting for different outcomes in the traditional budget, we'll be fighting for different driver levels with our colleagues, and that we will be in the same position as we were before. I have a first pool that I would like you to answer to. So this to make this presentation a little bit more interactive, and I would like to hear from you if you or your team can answer the question, what does this do to our numbers? So when the shock hits, when something happens, what is your answer to when your board member or your general manager asks what can do this to our numbers? What's the impact on our bottom line? So from your experience, if you already had to answer to this question, what did you do according to these four options?
So we're sharing the results now, and it looks like the majority, 55%, say we build a one-off spreadsheet fast. Another 36% say we have a model we can flex on the spot, and 9% say we escalate and hope someone knows.
Okay, good. So for the ones that already have a model, they can use to flex it on the spot. They are on the right track. So they are already using. I don't know if a driver-based planning tool, but something of the sort. The build of one-off spreadsheet is also a good indication that the participants in this webinar are aware of the importance to try to give the answer as fast as possible. But it will take also some time. Fast probably might not be fast enough, or it might be subject to errors or disconnected completely from the levers that influence our outcomes. But it's a very good point, the answer that give us at this moment. So we'll proceed to our objective number one. So far we talked about the diagnosis, talk about the difficulties we have currently with our job, and we will move forward and start talking about specifically of the driver-based planning. So the important here is that we stop forecasting based on what happened last year, and we build a model that help us do that. Something I can say to start with is that, for instance, revenue is not a driver. Revenue will be an outcome of everything that was made to achieve that revenue. And to give you a quick example, depending if you are a business to consumer or a business to business company, advertising increase, it's a driver that can influence our revenue. As well, the number of visits or meetings we made with our customers, as well the number of leads that we have, or the number of order lines or sales quotation that we are able to achieve every day, every week, every month. These are the kind of drivers that we are talking about. And these are the kind of levers that we can pull up and pull down that might have an impact on our revenue. So this is where we will move forward from. So having drivers as the object of our planning has several benefits. They allow us to understand the relationships between what is the activities that we perform on a daily basis and the impacts that those activities might have in financial outcomes. So if you are able to build an equation where, for instance, revenue, it's quantity multiplied by price, and quantity is influenced by the advertising that we made every month, or the quantity depends on our conversion rate. For each lead that I have, or for each 3 leads that I have, we have 1 sales quotation that is win and transform into a customer order. So this is the kind of metrics that we will try to build in our model. And if you have a change in one driver, it's easier to replan. So if usually we have 200,000 euros spent each month on advertising, and we move up to 300,000, we can see the impact it might have in our revenue. It also has some logic, because there is a causality effect. So each driver should be chosen by the ability to cause an impact on the financial outcome that we are measuring. I've been speaking about revenue, but it can be margin as well. It can be the EBITDA. It can be other KPIs that are important to our organizations. One of the benefits as well of driver-based planning is that usually the driver is an owner. So if you are talking about advertising, is marketing. If you are talking about leads, it's the commercial departments, the sales department. And if we are talking about capacity or equipment efficiency, it's the same thing. So it's our colleagues from operations that own those drivers. And with this, we don't have a translation gap. So when we are discussing the importance or the impacts each driver has on our financial outcomes, we are talking the same language as our colleagues. And also these drivers are observable. So it reduces the negotiation, it reduces the padding and the sandbagging, since these are operational drivers that are more visible and are measurable, and it's more difficult to hide. This relationship between drivers and financial outcomes can be seen in what you call the value driver tree. So we will building a tree that has the connections between the drivers and how they influence the financial outcomes. Here we have some examples that I've been talking about so far, and each one will have a different impact on our revenue. For instance, I've been talking about causality, but I can also talk about constraints. The capacity that we have installed in our companies, the production capacity is a constraint. If I increase infinitely the marketing spend at some time, it will not generate more sales because I don't have the capacity to satisfy them. So in the model that we build, we shall also consider the main constraints that might affect our outcomes. As Janis Novak says in the case that we have developed, when you know the mathematical relationship between these operational drivers and the financial outcomes, we don't need to wait for the books to close to know where we stand. So this is important for the decision making. We don't need to wait to the end of the month to have all the actuals calculated, to calculate the variances, and then make a report about what happened. We can use this model to check if a decision will have an impact, or to check if an external event will have an impact on our financial outcomes, on our revenue, on our margin, on our profit. And we can do it several times, and we can also do it with different variations of different drivers. I was discussing so far the increasing marketing spend will increase our revenue, but at the same time, we can have a strike, or we can have a war that will impact the supply chain, and some containers that were to arrive to our company in the next week, they will arrive 1 month later, and we can also test for that at the same time we are testing the marketing spend. So this model is useful because at some point we are able to test different impacts that are happening at the same time and see the results in our bottom line. And also, how can we intervene to try to invert those impacts. So in order to have a model, so to recapitulate a little bit, it's important to have a cause effect, not just a coincidence. So the driver we are selecting must, in practice, influence clearly the financial outcome we are connecting it to. So we are talking about causality, not about correlation. It's important to have the model shared across different departments. It's not something that exists inside the financial department. It's something that needs to be co-owned by the company itself, by all the main departments. So where we are in a meeting or we are in a board meeting and try to discuss why something is happening, we can all agree on the impacts on the calculations that the model is made. So if we have a shared value driver tree, when we are testing for different scenarios, we'll be focusing on the impacts and not discussing if the causality is correct or if the connection is exactly. So this cross-functional ownership and this cross-functionally working together between all the departments is very important. This is objective number 2 of this webinar. So, and the benefits are obvious. So this is not something in a spreadsheet that belongs to the financial team. The concept and the translation of the concept is not a problem because everyone is speaking business language. The sales and marketing talks about qualified leads, conversion rate, discounts, and prices. So they own the demand branch of our value driver tree. The operations knows what capacity it has, the throughput and the overall equipment efficiency that it works with, and how the service it is able to deliver to the customer. So they own the delivery branch. And then the financial team or the controller will translate these into economics, into monetary terms. It will ensure that the causal links are working and that we are all using a single source of truth. So also important to have this shared map between everyone. So we focuses on the analysis and on the decisions and not on the numbers, on the data that is put forward in a meeting. So with this, I'll ask you in a Zoom reaction again. If you can show me, raise your hands. If you have ownership of a driver or several drivers in your company. So let me know if you already are using these and if in your company you feel responsible for a certain driver.
Just a reminder for those who did not sign in with their actual name, if you do want to get CPE credit, click participants at the bottom of your screen, hover over your name on the list, click the 3 dots, and there's an option for you to rename.
Okay. So I don't see a lot of reactions, so we need to convince you that this is a good tool and show you the advantages of it. So in the next slide, I have another poll that I'd like you to interact with us. So in an example, if one of your drivers correlates beautiful with your revenue, so we have a perfect correlation. Before we build our plan, what should you do? So we should trust this driver correlation. We should do a check against other factors that might also impact the outcome. We should run a proper causal test, or we don't have time to check it, so we use it independently of the
And so the results were half chose sanity check against other factors, and the other half said run a proper causal test. So that's very
Okay.
encouraging.
Yes, this is very good. So you are aware of the importance of having the causality check in place. I have also this with another slide. So in our case, at some point, we see a correlation between advertising and revenue. Both grow up in the span of 3 years, and everyone is convinced that this is a true effect, an impactful effect. But then we also check for the market growth, and we see that in that period, the market grew by 30%. And so this advertising spend is not that big as thought. It's smaller than it looks. And this is why we need to check for these confounders. So we need, when we are seeing a strong correlation, we need to check and verify if that is the only one thing that impacts our revenue, if there are other things to consider. So this cross check and sanity check are very important. So as more care we put in the building of the model, the more we'll retrieve from it, and it will be more useful. So it's not only important to have the causality and to create the mechanism between the driver and the financial outcome, but it's also important to check for possible confounders and strip these away. So we are able to build a model that is more connected to reality and not just picking up signals that belong to other things. Another aspect of the driver, so continue to dissect what the driver is and how to read it. Usually, the causality link is not linear, and as it happens in most of our financial outcomes, there are diminishing returns. So you arrive at a certain point where we continue, might increase double or triple the advertising amount, and the sales will not increase accordingly. So here we have an elasticity that needs also to be understood and is also to be calculated. And this also leads me to speak about another issue, is the dynamic of these models. So this elasticity will not be fixed for the future. It will be influenced by other factors. So we need to take care of our model and check these relationships that we are building. And probably we have to tweak the model from time to time in order to adjust it and to have the elasticity calculated accordingly. So not only, and this curve explains it. So not only the increase in more, in this case, in more leads will lead indefinitely to more sales, or the inverse. So more marketing spend will not lead to more qualified leads. At a certain point, we reach a point, breaking point that needs also to be put into the model. So this is the constraint again. And if the market gets saturated, no, the amount of marketing spend that I might have will not create more qualified leads, and so it will be money that will not give us the results intended. Another important issue related to drivers, for it to be used, it needs to pass four tests. So it needs to have four characteristics. We should only use in our models strong candidates that have these four characteristics. So the drivers should be controllable. I should be able to influence the driver, the marketing spend, the conversion rate, the production capacity are all driver candidates that pass these controllable characteristic. Also, the causal one that we have been talking so far, not confunding it with coincidence or correlation. So it must be a causal impact from the driver to the outcome. It must the effect of the driver must be material. So some of the drivers we might have in the marketing, like the net promoting score of a customer, of the employees, or the ad impressions we have in social media, they might have an impact on our revenue, but it's not material. It's a very uh, uh, it's a very small connection here, and all of them must be measurable. So we need to use drivers that we can measure, so we can create these economic relationships in our model and build the equations mathematically in order to be able to use them. So these four characteristics are very important when we are deciding if we are going to use a driver or not. And then moving to our goal, our objective number 3, it's the real-time what-if scenarios testing that we can perform having established a model. So we defined the drivers, we made a value driver tree, and now we are using it to see the relationships between them and build a model that can be actioned upon. So to do this, in order to have this real-time characteristic of a value tree, driver tree, is to connect the platform to our data. So it's important to build a platform or to build a spreadsheet. If you want to start small, it's not a problem. I'm not here advocating you buy some software tomorrow. That's not it. But this that I'm describing here, it's agnostic to any software. So it's a theoretical framework that basically makes sense. It's based on good sense and on good practices. And this connection to the data source is very important. So we are using data that lives inside our systems, our softwares. Naturally, the data quality and the data governance is an issue that we must ensure across the board. So we should use only data that we trust and that is being validated. But the advantage of connecting this platform directly to the data that where the drivers live, where the financial outcomes live, is very important. So we are able to use it to make the simulations that we want and be able to answer it when we are all present in a meeting, or to answer it a few hours after something has happened. This allows us to build a one source of truth with the numbers that are shared by the different departments, by the sales, by the operations, by the financials, and this will help us use it for the purpose we'll be describing next. So if we have the ability to make real-time what-if scenarios, if we are able to test different tools, the speed is the obvious benefit. So we will be able to decide inside a small window of time. We'll be able to test the different impacts that are happening. And if we are, as in the case presented with a port strike, we will be able to identify possible impacts in our capacity to answer to our customer orders and calculate delays, calculate revenue loss, and also study alternatives to that question. We'll be able to compare different opinions from the different persons present in the meeting and try to evaluate the different options. Also important is the second effect, the second order effect. So if you have this port strike that will affect our revenue and our capacity, and if we decide to make a discount or to put in place a promotion for the articles we have in stock, we will be able to recover some revenue, but we'll lose some margin. So the second order effect can also be verified in this model. And since everyone is sharing the same model and sharing the same assumptions, it will shift the debate from the numbers to the decisions. And for the sake of time and for the decision that needs to be made, that is also important. So in order to demonstrate the advantages of this, I have created a small dashboard with the help of artificial intelligence. This is also based on the case that I have been mentioning so far. So the tool looks a little bit like this. I think you are able to see it on your screen. This is an HTML dashboard. It somehow identifies the main KPIs on the upper side of the dashboard, the main KPIs of the company, and then identifies also the value driver tree. So this is a connection that it's made to the live data of the company. And here on the left, we can have several drivers that we can influence, and we can see the results immediately. And also here on the top right side of the screen, we have different scenarios that we can test, and that I will show you in the next minutes to understand the concepts that we've been discussing so far. So returning to the PowerPoint first, to present you what we'll be seeing in the dashboard. So we will be evaluating the port strike event that is present in the case. So this is presented as a capacity shock that will impact revenue. Also, we can evaluate how the tree reacts to costs increases if there are price increases or due to tariffs or due to war happening in the Middle East, what that increase in oil, in plastic polymers or metal can have in the bottom line of our company. And then we can use different decisions to try to impact that, namely increase prices or moving to a different product mix in order to try to minimize the impact. Another example that I'll show you in the dashboard is the causality that can have with this port strike, the impact on capacity, the conversion goes down, the sales goes down, the margin is compressed. And we'll see if as in the case, the company decides to move to a different product line, it can protect margin, but the top line, the revenues will still go down. So for you to see this live and working, I will pass to the dashboard. So here we have a baseline where we see that the quarterly revenue of the company is 14.5 million. It has an operating margin of 18.6% and operating profit of 2.7 million euros, and is using 91.2% of its available capacity. So if we decide to increase marketing spend, we can see automatically the increase in the revenue. But at some moment, the dashboard will tell us that the capacity has been achieved. Sure, I can increase a little bit capacity with overtime, etc., and this will allow us to accommodate for the revenues that are coming. But this constraint of capacity is something to take into consideration, or the elasticity of the driver. It will not give us more revenue above a certain threshold. So getting back to the baseline, if I have an increase in raw materials, I can immediately test what happens. Basically, our operating margin and operating profit are going down, and we can see those effects immediately in our dashboard and understand the connection between the drivers, between the outcomes. We can have a volume outcome connected to marketing spend. This volume of qualified leads can impact the shipped orders, and the ship orders will influence the revenue and margin. This input cost index, this increase of cost of our raw materials will impact our margin directly. So this is some basic connections that illustrate the power of this driver tree planner that has been built. I will go back to the baseline. And now if you want to test the port strike event, immediately we see that it conditions our quarterly revenue, it compresses our operating margin, as well as our operating profit, and we can compare it here in a cascade graph, how the planned revenue compares to the current revenue and what are the main drivers that are impacting this. So this kind of dashboard can be very important to demonstrate to our colleagues, to convince them of the advantage of using this real-time data simulation. So I could go on. We could see other examples being applied here, but I think you got the message and you understand the importance of having this driver tree connected directly to the live data and be able to simulate immediately the results of certain impacts. So I will move forward. Some aspect that I would like to reinforce. So as I told before, the model, the reality is very dynamic, so the model must accommodate for this dynamism. And so from time to time, we need to validate if the assumptions we use, the elasticities that were put in place, if the model is drifting from the results that were achieved previously. So we need to continuously monitor the model results and be able to modify it accordingly. So from time to time, month to month, trimester, quarter to quarter, we should recalibrate, we should update the coefficiencies and create the log for everyone to understand what has been going on. So I have another pool, the final one. So if you were to say what is the biggest thing stopping your finance team from becoming a steering partner, so what is stopping you for using these kind of tools? What would you say according to these four options?
So the results are 22% say too much time lost to reconciling data. 44%, the greatest percentage, say no trusted model to steer with. And 33% say honestly, the skills are not there yet.
Okay, so there are some difficulties, and I hope that the ideas I am sharing here with you will facilitate the adoption, and I will show you some best practices and some pitfalls to avoid as well, so to contribute to that future adoption. We arrived to our last goal or objective of this presentation. So it's related to the controller, to the change we must do as the way we perform our jobs. So if we are able to adopt this tool and if are able to change somehow the decision-making culture of the company and base it on more on drivers, on facts, and have these simulation models built in, we will not be so preoccupied with the reports of what happened in the past or with the reconciliation between different sources of data or with the variances against budgeting, and we'll be able to deliver value to the company to identify solutions or to identify alternatives that might impact in the current quarter, in the current month, our financial outcomes. Have those decisions shared between different departments and contribute to strategy execution and to the alignment of everyone in order to achieve the results that are important for your organization. So we have defined the drivers, we have defined the value driver tree, connected it to our live data. We have shared these between different departments. They participate in the decisions. And so the financial department has a role to play here. We know better than anyone else the data that our company has, the fragility of that data. We must work on the quality and create a governance structure that ensures that we have the necessary data and quality available to implement these kind of models and then help the decision makers make the right choices while things are happen and not bringing bad news when things happen in the past. So if before we were negotiating a budget, we will change that to maintain a casual model that works and it's available every year. When we have a shock, an impact of an external event, instead of waiting for the month and close, we can simulate it on the spot and give an idea of what might happen in the main outcomes. If before we were worried, where did we spend the money? After implementing these tools, we will answer the question, what will move the outcome? What can maintain the KPIs at the level that we are comfortable with? If we were in the past reconciling different sources of data, we will have a source of truth that is shared across different departments. And if we will reports to bring reports to the meeting and tell everyone what happened in the past, we will help them frame the decisions and choose the best future decisions for the organization. So here I share with you just, in the case, this is more details. So if you are curious, you can go and see it in the case. We should start by picking one driver, advertising or qualified leads or conversion rate or sales quotations, etc., and model this driver against our revenue or against our margin. And we can do it in Excel. We can do it in a spreadsheet. It's very easy to implement. We should validate the driver against the outcome, calculate the elasticity, and verify the different levels we had in the past of this driver against the financial outcomes, and validate if the model is accurate and is giving forecasts that are inside the precision that is needed, and then use it to make simulations to test different what if scenarios, and simulate real decisions as they might happen in the moment. And so when we have a quick win, when we are able to show this to our colleagues and see this working with them, this will allow us to build a case to move forward, to increase the number of drivers, and if needed, invest a little bit in the process in order to have a more straightforward process that lives outside a spreadsheet. So the best practices we are seeing from the adoption of these kind of driver-based planning models are the following that are stated here. So start small, pick a driver that is fed from the live system, from your data. You don't need to create new data or to create a new database. So use the data you already have available inside your company. So in our case, we see several marketing and sale initiatives that are pulled to achieve a certain result, and it worked. Agree on the definition of the driver with your teammates. So define what actually will you be using in order to establish as a driver, and govern this information accordingly. So create a written document that states the definitions, the concepts that we'll be using across the model. Try to reach a first win. So try to anticipate some decisions and test them as they happen, as the impacts happen, to try to show the benefits of using this model instead of waiting for the quarter report, and also have an owner for every driver. So the sales, the operations should own the drivers that influence the financial outcomes, so they also believe in the model that we are using. In terms of pitfalls to avoid, there are some advice that can also be made here. So when we try to build 50 driver tree, and we do it in Excel, and we do it inside the financial department, it will not survive. So no one will understand the complexity of the model because it's not shared with them, and this will prevent the process from gaining usefulness for everyone. Do not mistake correlation for causality. So this is one of the basic errors that must be avoided. Don't forget the dynamics of reality. So we need constantly to monitor the model, and from time to time update the coefficients in order to have it more connected to reality. And another pitfall that we see, or another problem that arrives sometimes, is when we decide to buy the EPM software first without gaining traction inside the company, without understanding the benefits of driver-based planning, and then we have big software that no one knows how to use it, and it will be more difficult to implement. So we have reached the end of the presentation. These were the four objectives that we have discussed so far. So in terms of drivers, we should select just a few, and they should pass the tests of controllability, causality, materiality, and the fourth one that I don't remember now. We should build the value driver trees with our colleagues from different departments. We should connect the data to this platform and be able to use real-time data to simulate what's happened. And our teams, our financial teams, will be impacted by this transformation, and our job will change in the future. So I hope you appreciated this explanation. I advise you to read the case, and I am available for some questions that you might have related to this session.
So thank you, Paulo. That was a fascinating presentation, and I know we all really appreciate presentations with real-world application. It makes it seem so much more real, and it was getting a fascinating presentation. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for being here today. We will be taking questions, so if you do have a question, be sure to put it in the chat feature. I've just pushed out our end of webinar poll, so please complete that and give us your feedback on today's session. A couple housekeeping items. Keep an eye on the PACE channel on LinkedIn for future webinars in this series, and be sure to sign up for our newsletter on our PACE website, profitability-analytics.org, to know about future webinars as well. And we did want to mention, have a special announcement. Today, PACE is launching an exciting initiative, developing the Profitability Analytics body of knowledge. Check out PACE's homepage on LinkedIn or our website homepage to find out more and get involved. So having said that, let's check out questions. So one question here, Paulo, I loved the 4 bars that the driver must pass to be considered, and I think we all appreciate that. But how do you get the leaders to take ownership of the drivers?
So I think the leaders already own the driver. So for instance, if we are talking about operations and we are discussing production capacity or overall equipment efficiency, these are already numbers and KPIs that our operations colleagues understand and use it on a day-to-day basis. The advantage here is to connect these drivers to our financial outcomes, to make this connection. So if we are able to present them or to discuss with them, look, if we increase capacity by 1 point or 2 points, it will allow us to increase our conversion rate of orders into sales. I think it's obvious that they will help us participate in this. They will participate in this process. They own the driver, the capacity, and they will work inside their department to increase the production capacity and be able to answer to that. So I give you an example of the company I work for in Portugal at Oli. We are having an increase of demand for a specific product, and we have a constraint in our production capacity. So from the start of the year, we saw demand go up by 20-25%. It's no way we can increase capacity from one day to the other in this amount. We sure had some slack in capacity, but we work together as a team. We make some changes in the number of shifts, in the number of persons that work per shift, and we're able to increase the capacity of production. and we did not achieve the growth of 25% as needed, but we achieved a growth of 22, and that helped us to increase the sales capacity of the company and take advantage of that demand and transform it into revenues. So if people see these connections happening and the drivers they already own on a day-to-day basis, I think they will help achieving value from this kind of models.
Great. Thank you for that. We have time for one last question, and that is the following. Can AI shorten the adoption curve, or does it just automate the confusion faster?
Yes, I think it's an answer that has two angles. So, sure, it can help. The artificial intelligence, the generative models can help us identify drivers in our data, can help us understand the connections that exist between the drivers and the outcomes, and it can also do the revalidate of the model. So if the coefficient needs to be updated, it will help us identify that. One thing that AI will not do is the logic. So each business has its different logic, and the connections between the main drivers to use and their impact on the outcomes, this causality can be confused by AI as a correlation or as a coincidence. AI will tell you that that driver is important and it might not be. So the logic, the human judgment continues to be important to be made. And AI will not help here in this process, but can help in the mechanics. So it can help us build the model, but not identifying previously the drivers or the connections between them.
That's a great insight. I think it applies to many areas when it comes to AI. So
Yeah.
we're out of time. So thank you everyone for attending today. And Paulo, thank you again for this incredibly interesting presentation.
Thank
I'd
you
like
very much.
everyone to encourage everyone to go to our website, profitability-analytics.org, to see all the other resources and activities that PACE is involved in. We've got a lot of great activities, and it's an exciting time to be a member of PACE. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope everyone
Bye-bye.
enjoyed. Thank you.